Hello and welcome back to the Only Fools Love Horses YouTube channel, and episode 4 of our Cheltenham Festival series is upon us. Thank you very much to the previous guests that have come on, and the Dublin Racing Festival is now in the rearview mirror, so we have a bit of a clearer picture ahead of the Cheltenham Festival, and of course 5 weeks to go until that supreme roar. Like the few other episodes that we've had on, we've had plenty of good guests, plenty of fantastic guests, and we've got another one, a returning guest in James Stevens from the Racing Post. James, how are you?
Good, thank you very much, Ash. Wish I was at Old Trafford for Manchester United Newport County replay today, but alas, it never happened. So I'm here with you guys chatting about the Cheltenham Festival, second best, I guess. But there you go.
You were at the. We'll go a bit off topic. You were at the Newport game.
Yes.
What was the atmosphere like?
It was very good, and I was glad to see Eric Ten Hag was pretty rattled after the game. At least we won that battle. I was stood behind him. I wasn't surprised. He was quite unhappy after the game, but no, it was great. It's just been, the football world's been very good, and County on a bit of a high at the minute, which is good. Unfortunately, my Cheltenham betting slips after the Dublin Racing Festival seem a bit worse, so that's brought me back down to earth.
You're not the only one, that's for sure. James, we tend to do sort of like an intro with people about sort of what they're doing in life and what they're sort of doing with the industry and stuff. And obviously, many people know you for being journalist at Racing Post, a very high profile journalist, I must add. What's it like as a life, Racing Post journalist heading towards the Cheltenham Festival? The West Country correspondent. There'll be plenty of stable tours and bits and pieces to do. What's sort of like in the build up to Cheltenham? What do you have to do as a full paying journalist?
Yeah, well, I think the interesting way of looking at it is that my season starts my own season started in August, the first weekend of August, where I met my first trainer for the pre-season stuff. And you get towards a point in the season where, because of what's happened at Cheltenham for so many years and Ireland dominates, people don't want to talk about Cheltenham. They talk about, well, he's a nice novice and this is one we've got high aspirations for, but you just don't want to talk about Cheltenham yet. You don't want to get too carried away. And as the season goes on, it's like, right now that picture's become clearer. And for the majority of those horses, they don't make it and they're not good enough. That's just the way of life. But then those ones that are, and that's where it gets really interesting. So come January and come this weekend, it's now about, right, what goes where, what happens. You basically, I look back at what I do is very similar to where I was as sort of 18 years old, looking to try and find a bit of value. I ask the question and go, right, okay, well, I like that horse. Which race is it going to run in? Those sort of questions that I always think, that because it's Cheltenham is so close now, those are the questions you have to ask. And of course, there's lots going on in the sport, which we don't need to digress into, but they're the key things. And also here in Cheltenham, I mean, I live in Cheltenham, and you start to get the buzz a bit more. And when you're surrounded by it, it's all encompassing. I always find it's a bit flat. There's no racing here in February. It just amazes me, really. A month before the last meeting is the end of January, and you've sort of got 6 weeks to wait. But lots of preview nights, lots of getting ready for it. It's things on the course, it's things off the course, what's happening in the town and what misbehaviour people have been up to and how they're going to stop them, war on we, etc. There's all sorts. But the great thing about the Cheltenham Festival is that it's the moment that all eyes are on the sport, and it's important that you can find as many good stories about that, because racing doesn't always have that spotlight on it. So it's important that you have, when that meeting's there's so much to look forward to, and someone who isn't interested in racing can look into it and go, wow, what a great sport. This is something I'd like to be more interested in. So that's the way I always approach it.
Yeah, it's definitely an approach to hold quite closely with the Cheltenham Festival coming up. We want to hopefully get some positive stories going in the sport. We like to have a moan, don't we, in racing? Let's have a smile on our face and positiveness. Cheltenham Festival's on the way. And as with this series, we preview the race when we go in chronological order. We finished with the cross country last time out. And we'll kick on, gentlemen, into the next race that we're covering. So the first race on this episode, but it's the final race on the Wednesday. It's the Champion Bumper. We did have, we thought anyway, a big clue about the Champion Bumper from the Dublin Racing Festival in Jerbo Machen, but unfortunately he's injured out for the season, 9-2. So it's Jalan Duderi's 11-2, Jasmine de Vol 6-1, Maureen 8-1, Romeo Coolio 8-1, Yortano 12s. Bigger about the rest. Harry and Lee, I've just realised I didn't say hello to you, but I hope you're both okay.
Yeah, you're right, Ash. Yeah, sound nice one, mate.
How are you, lads? That's really poor from me. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna come to you individually. I'm gonna sort of double end this question here. Lee, hello. How are you? How's Dublin Racing Festival? You were there, and the Champion Bumper. What's on your mind towards the Champion Bumper?
I'm fine, Ash. Thanks for asking. The Dublin Racing Festival was great. There was a few niggling problems, let's say, but on the whole, it was a great experience. It's the first time I'd been to Leopardstown, and thanks to the amazing Maria, who's part of the Facile Vega team, she looked after me. She even dropped us at the airport after racing, which was fantastic of her. But fantastic experience. Like you say, the muddier water is becoming clearer. Maybe there's a few come out of the champion hurdle there, and Perry Pass isn't going to go to the champion hurdle or the stairs, Bob Ollinger and so on. But also we did lose the favourite for the champion bumper here, who was impressive at the weekend there. Jerbo Machan, I thought was a solid run, kick clear. But in regards to this race now, I think the one who finished second, You Ought to Know, didn't maybe get the best of runs, had to chase down that winner. Maybe the winner got first kick. I still would be interested in You Ought to Know off a couple of runs. There's a few in there, like the Yellow Clay, ran at the weekend for Gordon, stayed on into fourth, stayed on really strongly, was out the back of the telly, and stayed on powerfully as well. But I would take a chance maybe at a massive price. Baby Kate, the mare there, she's around 40s, I think 33s in a lot of places. She won really well at Cheltenham, so she's got the course form. And the mares have won it in the past. Of course, Relegate won it for Willie Mullins. Fiona come from a different county, if you remember, for Gordon Elliott, last to first there in a power pack run. Relegate kind of done the same thing, to be fair, under Katie Walsh. And look, the mares have won it before. Willie's the all powerful yard and conquering, let's say, and especially in these bumpers. And yeah, I just thought it was a massive price for a course winner. So Baby Kate is one I'd be interested in, but also You Ought to Know, and I think the Yellow Clay are definitely two to keep an eye on, away from the top of the market.
Willie's in the bumper at 40-1.
Yes,
That's a
Willie's
very interesting one. Yeah, look, interesting one there. And also Baby Kate got a bit of a form boost as well, beating Switch from Diesel on debut, who ran a good race in the mare's bumper as well. Harry, hello, how are you? How was England over the weekend? Did you enjoy yourself? And Champion Bumper, what's the picture looking like for you?
It was good. It was good, Ash. It was I had to look after the Only Fools of Horses ship whilst you two were over shores, and now you've come back on board. I know. Look, we did all right. We managed to find a few winners. Obviously, the ill-fated Hermes Allen. Obviously, it's been a terrible weekend for Ditchy. I think we shouldn't shy away from the fact that it's been such an awful few days for them, and obviously all of our thoughts. I'm sure with everyone else that watches this, we're all with everyone there down at Ditchy. Nickelback, I thought, was a very, very good winner of Saturday. Jumped like an absolute buck for James Best, and it was great to see him get his first Grade 1. Going on to the Champion Bumper, Jalan Duderi's Ash is something that I was worried about the favourite coming in, the Emmett Mullins horse. But obviously now the news is broke out that horse won't be travelling to Cheltenham. Jalan Duderi's is. I've had a good go on this thing. I'm looking to go 3 from 3 in the last 3 years. Obviously, I'm not getting a tattoo of another bumper horse because Facile Vega is taking me to spirally crazy places, and it's just he's getting in my head as much as he's in his own head at the minute. But no, Jalan Duderi's just I want to talk about him, and I'm going over to your side, Ash. I'm talking about the sectionals here.
I really hope, Harry, for the sectionals, for the sake of yourself, for people like me and people like that like sectionals, I really hope you've done this correctly. I do genuinely hope you've done this correctly. So I'll give you.
Honestly, I've spent so long looking at this, and I'm going to go back to his last run when he beat Redemption Day. Now I'm going to take the view that Redemption Day was a little bit off at the weekend, because I don't think that was the real Redemption Day. Now, I've always held Redemption Day as a very fast horse and a horse that doesn't really stay, whereas Jalandou Dairies I thought was more of a stayer. But when I looked into it, Jalandou Dairies was very quick. And in fact, if you go back to the race on the 29th of December, Jalandou Dairies, his second last furlong was quicker than Redemption Days. Now, that was where Redemption Day was quickening up to Jalandou Dairies. He ran it in 12.72, whereas Redemption Day ran it in 12.73. Now, the last furlong, Redemption Day ran it in 14.22, whereas Jalandou Dairies stayed at 13.94. So it stays that Jalandou Dairies has got that turn of foot and he keeps going. So that's what I was really impressed with. And I think for a horse at a champion bumper, you're going to need a turn of foot and you are going to need to keep staying. And I think he ticks all of the credentials for a champion bumper horse. And obviously Gordon he's been on the sidelines really. He's had a few near misses. He had American Mike. Obviously, you got beat by none more than Facile Vega in the bumper a couple of years ago. Get the hammer out. But I think he's got a really good chance. And I'm going to go back to his interview back when he did win. And Gordon Elliott was very adamant that this horse was going to go straight to Cheltenham. And he had a little twinkle in his eye about this horse. And he said that this horse is a proper horse, in the words of Gordon Elliott. So Jalandou Dairies, Ash, as you can probably tell, I hope I've done you proud there. But I really fancy him.
You get a pass. That's what you get on the sectional.
Thank you. That's good enough for me. I'll see you all later. Cheers. Thank you.
Jalandou Dairies for the Leaving Harry. James, come over to you for the champion bumper. What do you fancy in this? What's the market and the shape up of the champion bumper looking like in your head?
Well, thank you, Ash, on a Tuesday night to have me looking at the champion bumper before the entries are out. I really appreciate that. It's very kind of you. To be fair, it's an interesting race, and partly because the horse that won at Dublin Race Festival was pulled out, it sort of really opens it up. And so my way of approaching this race is usually horses that have very high potential. I just feel that they come to the fore in this. I think if experience helps, and I think a horse with plenty of experience helps, but horses tend to win this. You get surprises in this race, and I very don't like going in on short price favourites with it or anything like that. The two horses I watched back this afternoon and thought very, very impressive, really good chance was Jasmine DeVoe for Willie Mullins. I thought performance last at Nace was just exceptional. Looked to travel very well. That race was a bit interesting. It was over 2 miles 2 and I think two and a half or something like that. But anyway, it was a bit of a stamina test. It's a bit more of a stamina test than traditional bumpers you'd find, and stayed the trip very well. Looked to travel through the race very well. Just looked a very, very good horse in the making. Good enough to win the champion bumper, I don't know, but looks a very, very good horse, and that was one I was immediately drawn to. And I looked through our website, and it was so dominant from the Irish. I thought, what is going to be Britain's best chance? And I was quite surprised then to see Let It Rain for Dan Skelton at 20-1, because I mean, my Irish knowledge of Irish form is not particularly great. I'm first to admit it, but this horse has shown a really good level of form. She won the listed race at Ascot in December. I usually think that form is rock solid. The two bumpers I always look at from horses going forward are underrated is Ascot in December and Newbury on Saturday. But the two races that people get stuck into the champion bumper and think, oh, that was sick from the champion bumper, that's got to be a good horse. You look at the ones that are beaten in those races, they usually turn out to be very good horses. This horse was very, very impressive. And the interesting thing with her is she's a mare, so she'll get a bit of an allowance. Let It Rain was the big each way chance for me for Dan Skelton, but Jasmine DeVoe was the one that caught my eye.
I can't believe what I agree here with Let It Rain. I thought I was going to be coming in with a shrewd fancy here, but no, I thought very professional.
And I've tipped up, so it's not shrewd. Is that right?
No, I thought I was going to be the only one mentioning it. I can't believe it. I thought it was going to be Irish dominate, like you said, but Let It Rain, I completely agree with everything you said. I thought she was very professional at Ascot, make it 2 from 2. She beat Brecon Castle that day, who obviously won at Cheltenham, who's the Brookhouse horse. I remember speaking to Ben Brookhouse after his Cheltenham win, and he said, this is a really proper horse. Like, this would be going over hurdles if I had my way, kind of thing. And like, they really fancy that horse. And again, like, if you take Let It Rain out the race, Brecon Castle's won by about 6 lengths, and it's like, oh yeah, very good performance there. Was in receipt of £11, but it was in sort of, getting some of that mare's allowance as well. I thought she was very professional, and 20 to 1's a fair enough price about her, and the fact she's going to be getting the allowance, like James said, on Cheltenham Day. So if she does go there, of course, she might be saved for the Aintree bumper, mare's bumper. You don't know, but I can only assume with Skelton and it's sort of like want to have good Cheltenham runners. She's shown herself to be at that level. Surely won a listed race. I can see her going close in this, so I do agree. I've actually kept it fully British for this. I've done this really wrong, but my other two that are big prices I need to mention. One of them's Quebec Coif and Paul Nicholls. I spoke to Max McNeil last week about a couple of his runners, and he's obviously a part share and a part owner in the horse with the stewards, I believe.
Gary Stevens, isn't it? From
Stevens, Stevens. And
the Chester Cup winner. Which
yes.
It's
Metier, wasn't it? Was it Metier that they had?
Yeah. Any relation to you, James? You're not got a leg in the horse?
Absolutely none, no. But I wouldn't mind a share if you fancy giving me one, because I like this horse as well.
Yeah, look, very professional at Exeter, and apparently Paul Nicholls holds it in the same bracket as Captain Teague. I know Captain Teague was third in the race last year, but if they're getting in the same bracket as that horse, he must be fairly decent. I thought very, very good at Exeter all the way back in, I think it's November time now. And I'd be willing to chance him. And at a big price. I actually had to ask the bookmakers to give me this price. And don't laugh when I say the name. But
already, if you're asking for prices, it's got no chance.
No, it's unbeaten. And whisper it quietly. But David Maxwell might have a very good chance of winning the champion bumper this year. Queensbury Boy won at Chepstow and was very, very impressive. I think it must have been Welsh National Day now, or is it must have been Welsh National Day, I think, now, off the top of my head. Beat a nice Sam Thomas horse and I thought very impressive that day. Apparently, Harry Durham told David Maxwell to wait until the wings are the last, and then go again. But Maxwell, bless him, honestly, I love him to bits. He mistook the bumps of the home straight at Chepstow and actually kicked home at the second last. And so he had to stay on well. But look, I thought he was very impressed that day, and there was glowing reports from Durham and Maxwell about him going forward. I don't know if he's an intended runner for the champion bumper at all. Haven't seen him since Chepstow, but if he is, I mean, I'm sure Maxwell would love to have a runner at the Cheltenham Festival, and one that's genuinely a very, very good horse. So 33 to 1 about him, I give him a chance. So those are
not
my big
to listen. You gave a great description there, but no horse has ever won from a race from Wales, I believe. So that kind of ruins.
It's this Welsh discrimination. James, go at him. It's Welsh discrimination against the horses here.
If I was, because I did see the horse earlier, so I did a little bit of the old stats and trends that you go through, and I was just interested in if I'm right in saying off the top of my head that no horse has ever won the champion bumper from winning its last run in Wales.
I actually seen another stat. No horse has ever won with David Maxwell.
Well, that's a lie straight away. And Harry, are you just saying that a horse just comes over the border, a small hop over the border, and loses £10 of ability? Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm just saying, look, Chepstow is a cracking place, so is Fosslas. And you won't really.
Fosslas is just coming into its own. It's going to be a winning farm for plenty, and it's going to be the new Dublin Racing Festival. Fosslas in January.
The Fosslas Racing Festival.
Yeah.
Can't wait. Yeah. You've just lost.
It doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me that stat, because that Chepstow is such a. I mean, that Welsh National bumper was so miserable that day. Like it's such. They're real test of stamina, aren't they? And I always think the bumper's more of a speed test.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But that pass I gave you for sectionals, Harry, earlier, I've taken that away. I've rescinded that pass for your slander, and you, Lee, slander of David Maxwell. I can't believe it. Anyway, we'll move on. We'll move on to some races over obstacles. We'll go to the first race on the Thursday. It is the Turners Novices Chase. And again, after Dublin Racing Festival, this took a big turn of events. Gaelic Warrior was the short price fancy, sort of lurking towards 6 to 4. Now as big as 8 to 1 for him, because Factor File beat him in a match 2 to 1, topping the market there for Willie Mullins' runner. Ginny's Destiny 3 to 1 on a run of 3 successive victories, all at Cheltenham, looking to make it a 4th. Facile Vega 8 to 1. found a 50 10s, Grey Dawning 10s, Corbett's Cross 12s. You're getting into horses that have double entries elsewhere. Ile Francais does have an entry, but still there at 14s. Ilete Tomps 14s. So it's very much a bit of a murky picture as to who's going to go to the race. James, obviously, Factor File was very impressive on the weekend, Dublin Racing Festival, but, potentially benefited from Gaelic Warrior, I don't know, not firing. What did you make of that race? Because it was a very interestingly run race. Did you take much away from it, or are you looking maybe elsewhere towards the Turners?
It's difficult. It's a very cliche thing because only one horse finishes. It is such a difficult race to judge when you've got nothing to stack it against. I thought Gaelic Warrior was just too bad to be true. The horse looks beaten halfway around. He's usually such a smooth travelling horse, does everything sort of so easily. And I still remember when he won first time out, when he won by one of the most ridiculous margins I've ever seen. He just screams class and ability, and he just looked pretty woeful on the weekend. So I think the form is just impossible to judge. You can only take Factor File from what he's done, and what he did was he popped round there nicely. He just did everything, jumped round, produced a nice performance and won well, and had him beat a horse that wasn't quite performing, didn't do anything silly or it's just ticking the box as far as I see. I think the more interesting piece of form will be what he did over Christmas, which was again a really impressive performance. I would say, yeah, look, does he deserve to be favourite on the back of what happened at the Dublin Racing Festival? No, but you've got to look at the race and say, well, what does deserve to be favourite then? And to be honest, he's the only horse that's shown that sort of real graded level of form over that sort of distance. So I would say it's possibly got to be him. He looks like the horse who's got major potential. I think they'll come here. I don't think they'll go to the 3 miler. Do I think he'll win? Probably. The one bet I've had, and to be honest with you, I was a bit surprised looking at the prices today, was Ginny's Destiny after Cheltenham. I still kick myself to the day. Was a conversation I had in the Cheltenham press room after that novice handicap chase on trials day last year, where I was in agreement about Stage Star, that he was great each way value. And I thought, yeah, he's definitely good each way value. Just never backed it. I don't know why I never did. And I was so annoyed. I was so happy that Stage Star had won because I liked the horse, but was disappointed. So as soon as those prices were out in that press room, I was like, Ginny's Destiny jumped so well. I thought his performance on trials day was absolutely exceptional. And that was a very strong race. I took him on. I thought this horse is not good enough to win here. He can't be good enough to win off that weight, conceding that much weight against some real, true, tested 2.5 mile handicap chases. Decent handicap. You know what I mean. Beat Grey Dawning. I think that's a good piece of form. I think that's a nice horse. I like Ginny's Destiny. Jumped around Cheltenham well and travels well. I thought he was each way value. He's become the price he is because of what's happened. It's a real muddling race, to be honest, and I don't particularly like races where you don't know what's going to run, to be honest. It's a murky picture and I tend to avoid them. Ginny's Destiny was my each way fancy. The each way value is gone. Who wins it? Probably Factor File. He's the horse that I can see progressing, but not a strong opinion, to be honest.
Murky, I've given you some absolute clangers of some races on a Tuesday evening to look at, so I can only apologise. Factor File, Lee, was obviously a winner on the weekend. What did you make of the Turners, and what do you make of the picture now? Is it murky? Is it a bit murky, and you sort of having to try find something in there?
Definitely murky, but I would say Factor File, if he goes here and if he's the chosen one, and maybe Gaelic Warrior doesn't go at all just because the way he jumps. I thought the same as James. I thought he was cooked. It wasn't his jumping that beat him. There was something amiss. Surely he kind of coasted home and then obviously toppled over at the last. Look, what do you make of the race? It was a two-runner and it turned into a one-man show at the end. But look, Factor File jumps well. A second in a champion bum.
He jumps to his right, though. He does jump to his right.
Yeah, but look, he's actually in a fine jump. I think it was more Gaelic Warrior was going that way and he was following the last day, though, at the weekend. So that's how I had seen it. He was kind of following him in. Look, horses are kind of like that, pack animals, and they're not just going to do a solo sometimes. Look, Factor File, he is very classy. I did put him up on the start of the season on a different show here, but as my wanted follower in the middle distance, I did think he maybe take a year in hurdling. I was unsure, but yeah, look, he's probably going to be the one to beat. Whether Gaelic Warrior goes here is a different story. I think this newer course will suit him better than the older course of like an Arkle or something. Anyways, Ginny's Destiny is definitely, he was the each way played around. I think it was 9s or 10s, James, was he, after Cheltenham?
Yeah, 10s.
Yeah, look, that was the solid one, because he is a clean jumper. He carried that big weight. He's got the form on the track. He's built in that mold of Stage Star, where they built him up to give him their experience. He was definitely the solid player. Did I play him? No, I didn't play him, which I probably should have. Look, Murky Pitcher. If I had to choose one, I think Factor Fail is the classiest of these, and would take this, but it's a bit skinny to be guessing, maybe, as I would have said.
That's fair enough. I have a theory about Gaelic Warrior. I know I sort of said it on the live slightly. I was like, I don't get what's happened here. You know, he travelled and then he just suddenly stopped travelling. I have a theory that he went too quick. You often see it in matches where they go a little bit slow. There's not one that wants to go onwards with it. They sort of go a little bit slow and then it turns into a bit of sprint at the end. I think there was completely the opposite in the match that we saw on Sunday. I sort of did a bit of timings on it compared to the Dublin Chase, and I did it from the line around the circuit basically, and like consistently up until where Gaelic Warrior makes a mistake 4 out, where he gets overtaken by Factor Far and never finds again. He is a good 2 or 3 seconds at every fence ahead of the Dublin Chase. They went off so quick. Go ahead, Lee.
What about this? There's a question I'm unsure of, though. I'm just asking. But was it similar to what he done against Ilele Tomp in the Foheen or not? Or
slightly, but I think in the Foheen it was very it was desperate ground at Limerick, and he just went out in front and he went out in front. Ilele Tomp came to make a charge and then just went away again. I think it's different in the fact that it was fairly, it was soft enough ground on the weekend, but it wasn't like Limerick soft kind of thing. I think there's another theory to this as well, but I will come on to that in a second. But the fact he went off really hard and then just made a mistake, whether it was make a mistake at the 4 out, whether he went off really hard and never got home afterwards, there was something that I just think the tactics are just different to what we've seen from him in the past. If you look at him in the Ballymore last year, he was dropped in and had to try and make ground, and he stayed up at the hill. If you watch him in the Liffey, he was dropped in prominently behind the leader, and he came to the last travelling, hit the front, and then went away. If you watch him in the Boodles that he was second in, he was sat prominently, he was delivered, and unfortunately didn't get home. And then if you also look at him, there's one more example, but it's just slipped off my head now. When he won the 3-mile novice hurdle at Punchestown, he dropped in right out the back. He had to actually get nudged along a little bit, but as soon as he got nudged along and got to the last, he jumped the last ahead and went away. This season they've come into it, I think they've just gone the case of he's the best horse, let's just go from the front and see what we can do here. And I think unfortunately they've just been caught out. They've just really been caught out. They feel like they were going to get extra lengths on Factor File, but they just didn't. Factor File sat in a really nice position, benefits of Gaelic Warrior going off too quickly in my opinion, and then just gone ahead and won the race. I do still think there was something not quite right there, Gaelic Warrior, but I timed it against the big one for me. I timed it against the Irish Arkle the day before. So at the 7th fence, they arrived to I know it was difference in ground, but it was 2 days apart. It was a day apart. The ground was near enough, so I do take this into complete granted for sure. So at the 7th fence, 4.5 seconds ahead of the Irish Arkle. 8th fence, 6.5. 9th fence, 8.2. 10th fence, 7. 11th fence, 8.5. 12th fence, 9.2. This is where Factor File took over. 13th fence, 9.2. 14th fence, 5 seconds, and then actually at the line, Factor File gets eased down massively, going 20 mile an hour over the line, and he still beats the Irish Arkle by half a second. That's from the 7th fence all the way around. I just think it's very interesting. I just think they went off massively too hard. Maybe there's something to come to light, but I think Rein It In Racing or Rein It In podcast have been down at William Mullins today. Gaelic Warrior is working fine, so I can only assume he's okay. But
would you give him a pass for that run, and would you still chance him at Cheltenham or not?
I just think that they changed the tactics of him. I think they go back to reverting to drop him back in the field. You know, he's had no problem. I think also Icy brought up a really good point. He was very jig-joggy in the parade ring, like never really seen before. Very, very jig-joggy, and he's ran like he's done that as well. You know, maybe it was just an off day, but at the same time, he's been to Cheltenham twice and Punchestown once or twice, and the Dublin Racing Festival once before this weekend, and he's been fine. They've been able to drop him in, especially at Punchestown. They dropped him right in, and he's been delivered. At Cheltenham, first time out, dropped him in behind the leaders, and he's been fine. Whether he was just keen, whether something lit him up in the prelims or something like that, I think he's lost his race in the prelims, and then he's just gone and absolutely bucked it out, 32, 33 mile an hour, and been beaten. But that's my theory about Gaelic Warrior. So on that basis, 8-1's a big price about him. I'm not taking it. I'm not advising. I'm not taking it. That's
after all that.
I'm not taking it. I'm not taking it right now. I'd just like to give it a few more days just to make sure something doesn't come out of Close Sutton saying he's done something. But 8-1's a big price about him. In my theory, that's a big price about him. I'm going to stop waffling because my theory with the tinfoil hat is taken off. And Harry Turners, what do you make of the picture?
Yeah, I think you're mad. I think you're absolutely mad. If you want to be back in Gaelic Warrior after what you saw the other day, the horse cannot go left-handed. And you couldn't think of a worse track to go to than Cheltenham, especially with his antics. You're saying about the prelims. How's he going to handle the prelims at the festival? Because everyone will be there.
This is my issue. He's done it twice before.
He got beaten by Brazil in a Boodles off a mark of, what was it, 1-2...
He jumped into the stand, Harry. Give him a chance.
So what's he going to do? What's he going to do in March?
It's on a different track for a start, and he actually hasn't jumped that bad this season. It's just we are all eyes drawn to how he's going to jump, but he actually as bad as he's been over the hurdles.
But I'm just saying that I think you're mad if you're backing him. That's all I'm saying. I think after what you saw, I think you're mad. Listen, fair play. If you find him at 8-1, you really fancy him. Put your money where your mouth is. I think it might be worth taking on Factor File. 2-1, I think, is skinny. I think if you actually go back on what he's beaten, all right, he's had a walkover against Gaelic Warrior, who we know wasn't at the races. You then go back to his race on the 28th of December, where he beat Zanahir. If Zanahir lined up in this, he'd be 100-1. He'd have absolutely no chance in this. Manella Kakuna wants 4 miles. That horse is going for the National Chase. So you go back to the form of the Factor File. All right, okay. Albeit he's won very impressively. Marine National won impressively on his beginner's debut, but then he's bombed out at the Dublin Racing Festival. If you're going off the bare form of things, I think you've got to look at Ginny's Destiny. James, you made a cracking point there, because I was there on trials day and that horse jumped like an absolute buck. And you knew exactly what the plan would be. Go straight from the front, and that's exactly what the plan will be in this. He'll do exactly what he did with Stage Star. 3-1, however, for a horse who I think it was obviously rated 147, is that good enough to win a Turners? I wouldn't be so sure. And I think 3-1 is a horrific price. Now, I would love to see Grey Dawning in this race. I really would. I think this trip. Bear in mind, he gave Ginny's Destiny £3 when he took the second last with him when they last met. I think they'd be running off levels. I think at 10-1, that's a massive price. And give a little homage to my boy Fasal Vega. I'd love to see him in this race because
I think that's the single worst thing you've ever said in your life. I think that's the single worst thing.
But look, I think if you force me to have a bet right now, I think Grey Dawn at 10-1 is a big price, because I think the brand advisory is a warmer race than this. But Factor File's a criminal price, and Gaelic Warrior, you need your head looking at if you're backing that horse.
So you'd rather back just to clear it, you'd rather back Facile Vega at 8s than Gaelic Warrior 8s for the Turners.
Yeah.
Okay. Potential match bet coming on. Potentially.
Yeah.
Well,
listen. Yeah, but you're not understanding. It's like if my car can't go left, why would I go around the roundabout the wrong way? You just wouldn't, would you? Because you physically cannot go left-handed.
Really?
Oh, right. I'm done.
I don't think it was left-handedness that beat him on the weekend.
Well, what was he doing in the parade ring? Because he looked like he wanted to kill someone. He literally, if you look at the video that Racing TV put out,
There's no way
he
you
looked
can
like a
base his
bull.
prelims. There's no way you can base his prelims on the fact he's going left-handed.
I'm
They
not saying.
actually go,
I'm not
they
saying.
go right-handed around the parade ring if you're going to get
Yes,
up.
I know, but he did. I'm not saying that he looked awful in the prelims, but then he went to the in the thing, and you can just look. We all know, and we're all looking for him to go right-handed, and he was jumping to his right. He doesn't want to go left-handed, and you couldn't think of a worse track to go to than Cheltenham at the festival than jumping over fences left-handed. I think 8-1 is an awful price.
Okay, fair enough. That's fair. Case made. Gaelic Warriors parked to one side. Right, before we finish up, I do agree with you, Grey Dawning. I think if he went here, I'd give him a good chance. I think the race suited him quite well at Warwick.
There's one then for you. Would you rather have Grey Dawning at 10-1 or Gaelic Warrior at 8-1?
If I knew Gaelic Warrior was sound, Gaelic Warrior.
Oh yeah, okay, sounds. You'd have really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love you two want to comment, so.
And then at a very big price, just as one that I don't know where he's going to go, but he hasn't got an entry in the Arkle, so it really baffles me where they're going with this lad. Maybe they're going for a handicap. But I thought Imagine was interesting at 66-1. His Craddockstown to beat Uncle Phil and Lucid Dreams, I think that was a very good run. His time works out really nicely compared to the John Durkan from the last fence. Plus a circuit to the line. They're much quicker than the John Durkan. Now, I know the John Durkan was over 2.5, but when you've got quality of fast or slow, appreciate it. Galop and the Champs in that race, kind of, and they went really slow in the John Durkan. It turned into a sprint itself. I thought that was very good. 661's a massive price about him. I couldn't see him going up in trip to the Browns. So if they're going for a Grade 1 race, I think potentially they're going to the Turners. So 6-6 is a big price.
Gordon buy him back, did he?
No, he's gone to Harry Durham.
See, I'd err on caution for them Cadwell horses just because they've only got a short gap to then get adjusted, new feed, new routine, new all sorts. So if they're going elsewhere and if they're not with Gordon, I would say err on caution, especially Nichols already come out about Cadwell Potter. He might not even go to Cheltenham. There's a short time to adjust. So just err on caution if you're having a bet and they're going elsewhere. We're seeing with, not to mention, but past antics when horses have left Gordon's, they didn't perform at the festival. Just err on caution for that, I would have said.
Yeah, Harry Derrimash.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that. You're correct. You're absolutely correct. So I would take that error cautious massively, definitely. Anyway, Turners, heated debate. We'll move on to the Ryanair. We'll move on to the Ryanair. Final race we're going to be doing on this episode of the Ante-post series. And again, very wide open. Not so much maybe Dublin Racing Festival as being the cause for that, but it's very wide open. The fact there's no Allaho, so Banbridge 11-4 top of the market. Envoi Allen was second in the race last year, 4-1. Won the race last year. What am I thinking? 4-1. Stage Star 5-1. Conflated. Looks like connection going here with him. 14s. Phil Dorr still with Gordon, but with Rob Core 14-1. Appreciated 16s. Capadano 16s. Hoy Senor 25s. Bigger about the rest. James, come over to you, Ryanair. Now, you brought forward a very interesting point last year, I remember, about Allaho. You said sort of what percentage do you think Allaho's got to be to rock up? And I thought that was very interesting. Didn't get to see it happen because he didn't rock up. But have you got anything interesting this year on the Ryanair?
Well, yeah, I mean, I dare mention Stage Star about how badly Gaelic Warrior performed because, I mean, Stage Star at Cheltenham was desperately disappointing. Now, my difference with him to Gaelic Warrior is, I would say, timing. I mean, you've mentioned some interesting points about sectionals and things like that, and the way he jumps and left-handed and right-handed and all that all makes sense. I would be more worried about timing personally. I think the timing will probably end Gaelic Warrior's chance. It's not beyond the realms that he comes and bounces back, but you would want an improved run before going into a Cheltenham Festival race myself. Stage Star has had a lot of time and he's very good fresh, so I wouldn't be too disappointed with him. But I will take him on. Banbridge is a good horse, very, very good horse. Like Banbridge a lot. Just you're betting really on the ground, I think, with him. I think if it's good ground, he's got a chance. If it's soft ground, you're probably going to want to look elsewhere, and at his odds, would rather not bet on the weather, which is the way I think it is. So there's two at prices I liked. The first one is going back to my Cheltenham form was Fugitive. who has long been the frustrating horse, but finally won the December Gold Cup. And I just think this horse might now be fulfilling his potential, because a lot of people look at this horse and think, well, he's a handicapper and, he's not quite good enough to win a Ryanair. Well, I've always thought he's just on the cusp of being a graded horse. And it's just been a case of I don't know whether he just doesn't quite put it all in, or whether he's just beaten day, but he's always travelled like a very, very good horse, and one that could be better in a handicap, because you've got to remember last season when he was second at Cheltenham, second at the festival, he was carrying a fair enough weight during that time as well. This season he's come out, he's better than ever, was fourth in the Paddy Power, won December, and I thought he jumped well enough in the Clarence House, clearly a trip too short. Interesting thing with this horse, and it's absolutely fascinating point that Richard Hobson told me on the preview for December the Gold Cup, is that this horse is miles better on the new course than the old course, because where this horse takes a breather or has a sort of gets himself together, the fence on the old course comes just at a time where it catches him out. And if you actually look through his runs, there's a fence. I can't remember whether it's 4 out of 3 or whatever it is. He gets caught out, and if you look at the distance he's lost by, there's a fair case for saying, well, he could have won that day, could have won that day. And of course, he's gone to new course, and he is so much better, which is really interesting, I thought. So yeah, I think he's a really good each way chance. I think he's improving. He is 9 now. He's not had too many races. I thought he's great each way value in a race which looks massively open, given we've got no Allaho. And I thought Phil Dore as well was a decent each way price. Not quite sure what the plan is. I've been trying to read whether he's staying with Gordon. I presume he is.
I believe he
is.
is.
He kept him.
Straight to the Ryanair, I believe.
I mean, I thought Dino Blue ran a cracker at the Dublin Race Festival on Sunday. I thought it was a really good run from her. I thought that was a serious effort behind El Fabiolo. And I think, well, it's a shame that Willie Mullins has all these good horses, because if anybody else had Dino Blue there again, we'd like another crack here at El Fabiolo and John Bomb, because I think if you do the sort of top, you know how you get all these football things where you get like, these are a top tier elite, this is the second best. If you were to do 2 mile chases, you got John Bon and El Fabiolo. Who's in that next category, really? Possibly her.
Yeah.
Anyway, Phil Dore ran really well behind her over 2 miles, so I think that's a good piece of form. And then was second to El Fabiolo. 2 really good pieces of form over 2 miles. This horse clearly wants further, so 2 mile 5, I think, would be right up his street. Some good form over hurdles. Ran well at a Cheltenham Festival before, and the Triumph, second or third that day. I can't remember because it was between him and Pied Piper.
I believe he was second that day.
Second, yeah. I thought he got the back. Yeah, because David Russell chose him as well. Yeah, I just thought he was way overpriced as well. So Phil Dore and Fugitive in what I think is a really open race.
Yeah, very open race, and I agree with you on Phil Dore. I had him on the list as a potential one to rock up in like a plate or something like that if they gave him a couple of quiet runs and step him up and trip. I've been waiting for this horse step up and trip since his Triumph run. I'm convinced that if you look at the Triumph again, I'm convinced if Davy kicks up right off the bend, I'm not going to say he's going to beat Vauban, because Vauban was very good that day, but he'd probably get a bit closer than the distance was just of 2.5, maybe get within a length. But he waits and waits, and then he sort of lets Vauban go, and then he goes. So yeah, this horse has been waiting to step up and trip, and the times he has gone up in trip has been in the Coral Cup and in another hurdles race. So yeah, completely agree with you, Phil Dore.
Before you go on to that, my point about Dino Blue in that sort of second category, who would you think that's fair? Is there any others you would put in that? I struggled to think of them off the top of my head. Edwardston possibly, but he doesn't seem quite there at the moment.
I'd say I agree. I'd agree with you anyway. I don't know what the lads think, but I would agree with you. I'd say that she's the next one there, isn't she? There's not really any others, and you just have to take the Dublin Chase from the weekend. She was second, ran second best behind the best horse in the division. I don't know what the lads think.
I think it comes down to the fact as well. Like if you didn't have Al Fabiolo and John Bon in the world, then we'd be looking at a division where you'd have like Dino Blue coming into the race, getting the allowances, and you'd be absolutely you'd be all over her for the race, because she's got the form, she's classy, and she's got the right profile for that sort of race. If you know what I'm trying to say, like she jumps well, and like I completely agree. Like I thought it was a monster effort, and like I wouldn't say worried El Fabiolo. I wouldn't say she worried El Fabiolo the weekend, but she certainly gave him a race. And look, the pair pulled a good way clear, didn't they? So yeah, it's crazy. You look at that game spirit on the weekend. That's probably a level that you're thinking. Your Boot Hills, your Edward Stones.
That's exactly what I thought. Yeah.
Your Captain Guinnesses, those sorts of horses. But then Dino Blues just put Captain Guinness to bed if you're taking El Fabiola out of the race. So look, it's an interesting topic anyway. And but we are lucky to have these two monster horses in El Fabiola and John Bon.
Definitely, yeah. Shame she won't be going for the race, but oh well. Lee, Ryanair, what do you fancy? What do you make of the race at this stage? Obviously, Banbridge topping the market 11-4. Is he a horse you want to be sticking on side with?
Look, he's a bet on the day if the ground was fine. You can't bet him now. You just look, like James says, we're not the weatherman. Let's not predict anything. At the same time, he's a classy horse. He won well on return. I didn't think that he'd be fit and ready to go first time up. He's beat a couple of yardsticks. Look, he's a grade 1 performer at Aintree. He's won on the at Cheltenham before. Yeah, look, he stays fine. It's a case of good ground or look, good to soft is probably going to be fine, but good ground. He'd be a monster player in that race. You'd have to wait till the day. Simple as. Conflated, look, I think he's going to bounce into this race. I think he's run 2 solid races against Gold Cup contenders. He's come down at the last twice there. He didn't actually fall. He was unshipped some way after the line the other day. I think he's a classy individual in this type of race. I don't think he'd be a contender in the Gold Cup, but I definitely think he's a contender here. I think around 12s or 14s is still a massive price for him. Envoy of course, won it last season. Again, very classy. And the likes of Stage Star needs to bounce back. Look, I take Banbridge on the day. It's a muddling race. This middle trip, the same as the Turners. Look, we don't know who's going where, to be honest. We don't know who's going to rock up on the day. And maybe these type of races are one to sit and wait. I've backed Banbridge at a bigger price, so, I have an interest there. But at the same time, would I be confident right now? No. On the day, if it comes up good, I'll happily, keep the ticket as such and maybe it's not laid off. But yeah, look, I'd say if I had to have a bet now, conflated each way, maybe he's take the non-run. I know a bet just in case he does bounce into that cross country. But hopefully he's come out the race well, and I think he'd be a massive player to get the wedge back for Mr. O'Leary as well.
Yeah, definitely. You know how much I love Conflated, so that's just music to my ears. Harry, final word over to you on the Ryanair. What's top of your list?
Can I just quickly say Bildo was taken out of the Arkle, so it kind of another indication that he has a solid chance as well. Sorry, Harry.
No, you're all good. Gents, does anyone know what's happening with Flamebearer? Because I know I don't know whether he was out for the season. I think he was out for the season, if I'm right in saying, but he is still left in it, and he wasn't scratched today. And he's 40-1 now. I really fancied him for the race at, I think it was Punchestown, where I Appreciate It was third, and he's a horse who jumps really well. And I know he had his setbacks with injuries, but so he's not obviously probably the horse that you could most rely on. But I just thought 40-1 about a horse of his class is a wild price.
Ash for putting a horse up that we've seen this season and hasn't had an injury, but one that's had an injury and we've not seen. You're putting up. You look.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind him. I wouldn't mind. He certainly wouldn't be 40-1 anyway.
Shameful.
But no, that's going to lead me on to my other one because I did just mention him. Now, Appreciate It. Appreciate It 16-1 is a big price in this race. Now, he was in that race with Allaho where he was it was just let Allaho do what he wants and look good for the cameras. But this horse is best when he's bounced out in front and allowed to just go on and do his thing. And he showed that when he went down on his shield against Fast or Slow. And obviously he split the likes of Galopin des Champs. And we know that is top form. And I think he's just those are just the stayers coming to the fore. He doesn't stay. I'm certain of it. He doesn't want that 3 mile trip. Now the Ryanair trip for me and this horse is perfect for him. Now, if he could get into a rhythm from the front end on here, I think he'd be well up his street. And 16-1's a big price. Just looking at it, Willie Mullins has got Capodanno in here. Well, I don't think Capodanno will go here because he won over 3 miles and whatever it was last on Trials Day. So, what's Willie really going to have? Classic Getaway's the next one down on the list. Well, he pulled up last time, so he's clearly not the most trustworthy. Appreciate it. 16-1 is a big price, but Fildor, I'd be all over Fildor, but I'm just not sure he's of the class of some of these in here. That is just my worry with him. However, I can't. Obviously, he was disappointing last time he was at Cheltenham, but the last time he was on the new course, which is what he would be on the Ryanair, he was obviously second, as you lads have mentioned, behind Vauban. So appreciate it, and at 16-1, that'd be my main one. But Lee, you're bang on, mate. Banbridge, that ground turns up dry. Here's a question then, Lance. If the ground was dry, would Banbridge be short than 11-4, or would he? Do you think he would? What price could you see that?
It can't be much bigger because of the ground. That is just his factor. We know he's class in. We know he's fitting well, kind of thing. It's just that.
So, what price would you back him at then? What price would you back him at if the ground was good to soft on the day?
I'm already on, so what? I don't know.
No. What you disregard your bet?
Yeah,
what
bet.
price?
What would I back again? I'd have to say around 4s or so, because I don't think I'd go in too short. Just because the race is so muddling, that's the only problem. I'd chance again more cash at around 4s if it was good ground. That's how I do it.
Yeah.
James, what price do you think would go off if it was good ground?
It all depends about what else turns up, really, I would say, and also the other thing about prices are those festival races is trends. So if Ireland are winning everything, they go off a bit shorter. If Mullins is winning everything, then something like an Appreciate It would go off at a steady price, a lot shorter than it should. From expecting there's no themes around it, I would suggest we're talking 2-1 probably if it's good ground. But the thing is with Banbridge is that money does usually arrive in the morning. When he won at Kempton, there was, I think it was. There's quite a bit of money in the morning. So it's been a couple of times, and I remember when he ran at Aintree as well, the money came early in the morning as well for him. So it's be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, I'm glad it's not just me who thinks it's just a ground horse, I think.
Yeah, even Connections, believe that. So it's definitely sort of betting a little bit. The 11-4 is sort of taking into account the what the ground will be like on the day. Final word. I like Envoy Allen. I just think he's a very, very good horse. Won the race last year, but the horse who didn't get as easy a run as he did in the race last year, Envoy Allen got a lovely route through, turned around the outside, got to the front of the second last, then went away. Horse who didn't get that was Hitman. No, it was Hit. Well, Shishkin didn't. But it was Hitman, and Hitman got tucked away right in a pocket. Finally opened up, and he stayed on with Shishkin. Now, if we're taking it that Shishkin has improved since the run, or has he shown that look, if you think he was going to be a King George winner and you think he's got a squeak in a Gold Cup, then finishing like a length behind Shishkin is decent form, having not had a very good run through. Now, when you're looking at Envoy Allen 4-1. Or Hitman 100-1 for a 3-length difference, I think there's an interesting angle into this. I really think there is. I think Hitman, he's been sort of his campaign. He started in the Old Roan. That was the big target, but he massively disappointed. Then he's been ran in a handicap where Paul Nicholls said before he ran to Betfair Racing, I believe Betfair Barry, basically said, he's a good horse, but he'd be worrying about fitness. He's obviously going to come on for that run. He's entered the Denman this weekend. Newbury, 3 miles. He could probably get round there without too much of a bother. And then if he runs well behind Shishkin, or even if he, in a world he beats Shishkin in a Denman kind of thing, Shishkin maybe refuses, he goes off shorter than 100-1 for a Ryanair. I think that's the big price angle into this race, and that'd be the one for me. Obviously, I've made this case before. If Fast or Slow turned up to this race, he'd win, and he'd be 5-2, not 33-1. But I don't think he's going to turn. Well, it looks like he's not going to turn up. But I know it's the race program is diluted as it is, and it's probably not a good thing if he did turn to the Ryanair. But if you're being selfish, if he turned up to Fast or Slow turned up to Ryanair, I'd have him as a proper favourites chance in this race. But oh well. Right then, gentlemen.
Ash, I am founding member of the Hitman fan club, and even I think you are completely and utterly mad.
Brilliant.
But honest to God, I thought he was going to win it last year. God, don't tempt me into it. You've said it now. I'm
100 to 1. On this episode of the Cheltenham Festival series, I've put up David Maxwell for the champion bumper. What have I done? I've done time analysis on Gaelic Warrior and Hitman at 100 to 1. What an episode. You don't get anywhere else, do you? We'll move on to our actual Ante-post Tip, episode 4. James, the squad is assembling for the guests. I think Johnny Deneen put up Chianti Classico, Tanya Stevenson was Gidley Park, and David Jennings was Dysart Enos for the men's novice. Episode 4, what are you adding to the team of guests?
Do not say Hitman. Do not say
Hitman. Will not be Hitman. It's interesting they've gone for... What did Tanya Stevenson, which race did she put up for Gidley Park?
The
Bar and Bingham.
Okay, interesting. I very much lay at night and think which race will Gidley Park go into, to be honest. I just cannot work out what they're going to do with him. I think they will go for him now. I think she's picked the right race. I hope they do. Big Gidley Park fan. Didn't quite think he won well enough at Trials Day. He won, but I was left a little bit flat, I thought. Absolutely love the horse. I think he's, as young horses in the Southwest go, Gidley Park is number 1 on my list. So I hope he goes and proves he's good. I've tried to find a bit of value for you boys. And so I have gone to the plate. Yes, I've been looking at the plate on a Tuesday night in February as well. Seek help. And I've landed on Theatre Man, who is a horse I think is just destined to win a big race. It just strikes me as a horse that's going to win a big handicap. And I hope it's in the plate. It could be next season in the Paddy Power Gold Cup. One of those big Cheltenham races will be won by Theatre Man. Was second to Ginny's Destiny last time. I quite fancied him. I mentioned there how much I've liked Ginny's Destiny's performance. He looks a really smart horse. Problem with what might happen is if Ginny's Destiny does run well in the Turners, then Theatre Man's price in the plate later in the day could get a bit hammered. I think what this horse wants is a fast run 2 mile 5, which is what you would expect in the plate. I think one of the other overwhelming factors I've got on this is that I think there's a general consensus that Ireland is stronger than Britain. It's not actually true. There are certain elements of the calendar of certain types of races where Britain is really strong. I think we're particularly strong 2 mile handicap chases and 2.5 mile handicap chases. We're particularly strong there. So I think our form for races like this in the Grand Annual work out very well. I think this horse is destined to win a big race. Theatre Man at 16 to 1 for the plate.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. You can't argue with the value there on Theatre Man 16's big enough price. Lee, I'll come over to you.
Yeah, look, I've kind of went to the angle that Conflated is going to take in the Ryanair. I do think he's got a huge chance in that. If he went to the cross country, I think you'd have a huge chance as well. I think they've got class edges, and the one I've taken is Manila Indo in the hope that he does divert into that race. Look, 3 years ago, he's a Gold Cup winner. 2 years back, he was second to Aplu Tall. Last year, he did pull it in it, but it was quite a traditional race, and his age was getting on. He's actually 11-year-old officially, but his birthday, let's say, is in April, so he's actually 10-year-old technically. But he's got plenty of black form. I looked down the stats of the races gone by. It was first ran in 2005 when Spot the Difference won. He was a 12-year-old. Native Jack won the second renewal as a 12-year-old. A New Story. Godshon Petra was 10-year-old. There's plenty of horses in there. Balthazar King, and of course Tiger Roll is 11-year-old, and Delta Work 10-year-old. So the older horses do come to the fore in this type of race. I thought he travelled like a dream in its last run over the course. Was carrying 12 stone against Late Night Pass, who sprinted away from him. I didn't think had that staying power. Late Night Pass, he had won over the middle distance of the hunters there at Aintree, but I didn't think he quite stayed, but he just used that kick to get away from them. He had cross forms with Foxy Jacks as well from being second to him. There's plenty of form lines in there. I just would think that Delta Work will be passing the mantle on to someone else at this age. and he's only had one spin round there. Look, I thought Manila Indo, the classy horse in it, went well around the track the last day, and I think class to the 4. So look, I'm hoping that Conflated I have back Conflated for the cross country, but I do think he'd probably get diverted into the Ryanair for the O'Learys. So yeah, Manila Indo for me in the cross country.
Brilliant stuff. Nice spin over the fences already. Got the experience on hand. Manila Indo 4-1. Harry, I'll go over to you because you've probably already mentioned yours because I've got it on my screen now. But do make the case for your episode 4 nap.
Yeah. Look, I'm not going as big as 16-1, but I do think Jalandhar Dairies is something special. He had to do all of the donkey work when he beat Redemption Day, who obviously Redemption Day, we all know is this bumper horse, a bit like a dream to share, that they shouldn't be running in bumpers, but we know how good they are in them. And I think to do what he did against Redemption Day and the way he quickened up and then stayed onto the line, I thought it was very impressive. And I think although Gordon's not got a run into him since that race towards the back end of the last year, I think he'll be quite happy with the situation that is unfolding now. Obviously, we've seen the Future Stars winner, Jeroboam Mashan. Have I said that right? Obviously, he won't be going. You Ought to Know is a horse I really liked. I did put up You Ought to Know for the race, and Jody Tanner gave that a really good ride. But I don't think there was any catching that winner out in front. He'd be the danger, but I think this Jalandhar Dairies is something special. He can do the donkey work if he wants, and he's got that turn of foot to boot as well. So yeah, Jalandhar Dairies at 11-2, hoping to carry on. My tips this year have been a little bit iffy. I've been Storm Heart. I think I can throw that docket now because although he ran well, I think Sergino has the triumph. I think Ballyburn is the best one I've got. 7-1 you found me, Ash. That's this for the Supreme, but whether he goes to Supreme, whether he goes there or not or the Ballymore is a different story. And the other one was Appleway for the National Chase. Now she runs on Sunday at Exeter. She gets £3. She has to win there, and she then they'll make a decision. I have heard that the Ultima might be might be a little. Might be a thing, but that's not from me. That's not from me.
Well, it is because it's on the video.
No. Look, it's all well and truly up in the air. You've got the Mayor's Chase, Browns,
National Chase.
And National Chase. Yeah.
Yeah, you got a good team coming. The Ballyburn docket's very good, so well done to you.
That's going to get me out of the shit. That's going to get me out of the shit. Guarantee it.
Anyway. You're hoping so. Jalandhar Dairies is the entrant view, and for myself, I am going to go with another handicap entry. Actually, I've already put one in with Batman Girak in the Boodles, which is 11-1. I did that before his British mark. Saw his British mark at 133 and wanted to tear it up on the spot. But no, look, he's shorter, so I suppose you can't argue with the value there. He's sort of 7-1 in places, kind of thing. I am going to go for a handicap one. It's sort of related form of what we've seen today. If the British handicapper does something like it's like when they do the mark when they haven't actually ran. Like if they do that again with this horse, I'm going to be absolutely livid. But lucky place for the Martin Pipe 14-1 Nicky Henson horse, and got 4 runs into him, so he's a fairly experienced horse. On debut, was second to Teller the Name at Huntington. I mean, 14 lengths back, fair enough. Like that's not really a form line that you're really going to be hanging your hat on. But it was his first run in like 198 days, having finished second in a bumper at Huntington already. So sort of a learning process. Then went to Doncaster and absolutely bolstered up over 2 mile free, sort of stepping up in trip. Then finished second to Golden Ace. Now gave Golden Ace a whole stone in weight and finished a good second to the horse. Had to really push Golden Ace on. Insurrection was back in third as well. He was an interesting and fairly nice extra winner for Paul Nicholls. Golden Ace has since come out and absolutely bolstered up in a canter at Taunton as we record today on the 6th of February. Having to give a stone to that horse, I think, is pretty decent. That's a fair line of form.
He's a good horse.
Yeah, fair line of form there, and then went to Cheltenham, and this is where I maybe I don't slightly disagree with you here, James, but I think you can maybe, if you do like Gidley Park, I think you can upgrade it a little bit because I think that those two horses are two nice horses. Isaac de Zobo's in third is a nice horse as well, and Johnny Who is back in fourth. And those two have just gone on very, very far away from them. Like, put 6 lengths in between them and Isaac de Zobo, and then another 3/4 of length back to Johnny Who. Maybe if you're a Gidley Park fan, I wouldn't look negatively on that run, saying that Gidley Park has had to work hard to win. I'd say he's maybe just ran into a good one that was unexposed at a bit of a price. That's how I read the race. That I thought he travelled really nicely through the race. He kept on when challenged. He made a really sweeping move around the outside to come into contention, and he stuck on well. That was on the new course too, a course and distance to what the Martin Pipe will be. Nicky Henson's record in the last few years in the Martin Pipe isn't exactly, storming, but he had no ordinary Joe finish second last year, if I'm right in saying, off the top of my head. Obviously second to Iroko. So look, he's not adverse to running one in it. I'd rather have him run in the Martin Pipe than with the Coral Cup. I think that lends itself to these up-and-coming novices. And 14-1, I'm going to take a chance on Lucky Place going there. And I can't wait to go to a Nicky Henson press day in a couple of weeks' time, and he says that the horse is being safe for Aintree or something like that, and to put my bin in the slip. Nope, bin in the slip in the bin. There we go. And the audience nap, we put out a tweet earlier today. And we weren't sure how many responses we were going to get, but you came in your rafters, in fairness. There was a good few of you that commented, so thank you very much. But the winner has to be Sergino. I do have a bone to pick with Ian Rayner, obviously a good friend of the channel from the Cheltenham Exchange, at Ian Chelt X. He put up Sergino, and he may have got done by Chris Paul here for a bit of after timing, because his tweet reads, Sergino, full stop, honour to bigger price of Hills, thanks to an epic boost. He just wins, doesn't he? I mean, I suppose he does just win, probably, but the two to the horn there on the bigger price, you had to get it in there. But yeah, he was. Ian put it up as well. There was also someone who agreed with him. Phil Daniel agreed with.
He's on the 25s, actually, like something like 25s. And he did tell us. I know it's the trumpet, but it's a huge price. That.
Yeah, fair play. And also, there's another one in our comments, Mark Hughes, who also agrees Sergino, and he got the trumpet out and put at brackets at 11s. So well done to our trumpeteers in the comments of our Twitter profile. But yeah, Sergino is the one entering the side for the audience as the table builds up on your screen now. But that's all we've got time for on this episode. No, it's not all we've got time for, as we're going on to Betfair Hurdle Weekend and our weekend fancies. That'll be the second part of this show, so do stick around. But James, we'll leave you be. Thank you very much for coming on, second year in a row. How have you enjoyed your evening of looking through tough races and hearing Hitman propaganda?
Very good. Very good. I was glad I didn't get any revelations about tattoos this time, so that's always good. And enjoy the Betfair Hurdle, and you'll be hearing a lot more about Victor Dartnell after it, hopefully.
Yeah, we'll be talking much more about it as well, and that's the second part of the show. So it's not a leaving you as such. We'll move on to just us three previewing the Betfair Hurdle Weekend as our best bets. But thank you very much for watching this part of the show, and we'll move on to the second part. Yes, thank you very much to James for coming on. Another fantastic guest for the series, and we keep rolling on. Cheltenham's only 5 weeks away, so it really is getting into the business end of things. Not last week, because we did it a bit differently for the Dublin Racing Festival, but like the weeks before, we do our Ante-post bit, and then we do a short bit at the end, looking at the weekend and our main fancies. Not going for each and every race, but just our main fancies. Betfair Hurdle Weekend, so it is a fair weekend, probably one of the final stops before Cheltenham for big clues. So we'll go into it. And I'll go over to Lee first of all. Weekend fancies, roll through your list.
Yeah, look, I'll take a couple of chances. Amarillo Sky, I think, is that rank outsider, but he's overpriced. Maybe he's had a long time off. He's had 2 wins at Newbury. 2 runs ago, he won by about 14 lengths. It was a handicap, but then he was only 3 lengths off Enagamine in the rearranged Clarence House. Edward Dejit and Edward Stone were ahead of him. Like I say, a long time off, but there's plenty in there that are in and out of sorts. And I'll just chance that he may be fit and ready to take his go this time round. So yeah, look, Amarillo Sky, rank outsider, but it's worth an each way punt. And also in the big race there, I fancy 2. One's been really well backed. It's the Willie Mullins horse, or Castle Des, however you pronounce it.
Say Willie Mullins horse and you're fine, don't worry.
Yeah, look, his favourite now of 133. He was around 10s, but I think he's in about 4s even now. every man and his dog seems to be on it. Willie Mullins is in red hot form. Look, I took a punt because I was told about the horse. That's the simple reason, and I'm on it at a bigger price, so I've got an investment. But I do think Leo de Sud of the Skeletons has been left fresh. Bombed out in the Greatwood, but season before had been running in some top class races. Ran a great race, a graded race at Kelso. Has some good back form. Just didn't show it in that Greatwood, and being given the chance to run fresh in this. And the Skeletons obviously target big handicaps. It's a big pot. I'll take a chance each way on Lihod de Sud, but at Castle Day, what is it?
The Willie Mullins horse. I'm
The
even
Willie
lost on it.
Mullins
On the
Castle,
pronunciation.
whatever it is. Yeah, the Willie
Hang on.
Mullins horse at the top in the double green. He's on red hot form. And yeah, look, really well backed, but could be a blot on the handicap. So look, just a couple. One's around outside other field. One's being backed into favoritism, but might be thrown in. And if you're getting like fives and stuff, but yeah, I'll take the Hood to Surdy tree as well.
Castle de Mots, I'm going to go for
That's
there.
the one.
It's definitely French import, that's for sure. Harry, go over to you. Any weekend fancies for Betfair Hurdle weekend?
Yeah, I'd go. I think Matata's got a good chance. I've seen a few people mentioning about JPR1, especially today as we record for the Arkle. Obviously, it's been blown wide open, hasn't it? But Matata and JPR1 probably looks one of the best British chasers that we've got going into this year's Arkle, and he's an assured jumper. And Matata gave him a right good race at Lingfield last time out, albeit he caused a fair bit of a controversy down there. I think it was at the first, wasn't it, with the Charlie Deutsch horse? He ran straight across, but I'd expect him. Edward Stone, I'm willing to give him one more chance. He's dropping back down to 2 miles now, and I think that's going to really suit him. And I just think he got really lit up over the extended distance. They tried something out. Fair play to them for trying something out, but it didn't work out. So they come back to what they do know, and that's 2 miles. And I think 2 miles round Newbury should suit him down to the ground. Of the others in the Betfair Hurdle, I'd say tell her the name. I'd love to see this horse run well. If a mark of 135, I think it's still underestimating him. I think just forget about the Aintree run, because I think nothing was ever going right, because they said it was soft ground, but it was dire ground, and I mean, Keelan Woods was pretty sensible, and the horse was never going. So, luckily, I think it's good for him that he came back out and then bounced back to win. He's won twice, not twice now. He went to Huntingdon, didn't he? And he won by about 14 lengths there. So he's a very progressive horse.
Jocked up, is he? I think.
I'm not sure.
He's meant to be jocked up on him.
I honestly,
I did see those on Twitter. It's not on the Racing Post, but I'll have a little scan on the BHA website. See if.
But Keelan Woods is still banned, isn't he? He must still be banned. I'm not sure how long he's got left actually on that matter. But look, the talking us is that a Castle de Mont that could be absolutely anything off 133. It could be an absolute rick. So no, but I'm willing to take a chance on telling the name at 10-1.
Yeah, just for anyone who wants a bit more information on the French horse, Adam on Twitter at GG Banker, brilliant French expert. He's about a 3 or 4 minute video on YouTube. I watched it as I was on the plane to come back from Dublin. Hadn't moved. It was sort of everyone was coming on. I thought I'd quickly flick that on. Very informative actually. So I did watch that, and yeah, if anyone wants to have a little bit more information on the horse, probably more qualified than us three to have a word about him anyway. For me, I've kept it to the main races as well. I mean, like time reasons, I've been coming back from uni and stuff today, so I've just had a scan at the front main too. Boot Hill in the Game Spirit, I think, is probably my one for that. I just think he could be a bit classy in this race. You know, like he's got that form sort of from this season of running in sort of those Ascot races. You know, beating Fred Arms a handicap of 155 was very good. Beating First Flow in a handicap of 149, I suppose, worked out quite nicely as well. And he was a very good novice chaser. You know, battling with the likes of That's Right Gino and to Pick Dory, I think potentially, or it might have been Solo, one or two those Johnny DeLay horses. And look, last time out, you know, he fell, but he's going fair enough, and he's just been freshened up a little bit. The better ground will suit him. Sort of speaking to Harry Fry at the back end of last week, and they said he's probably the only one who's wishing for better ground for both his chances, actually, Boot Hill and Outer Belly in the Betfair hurdle. So I give Boot Hill a good chance. He's receiving weight from the field as well. So he's my main one, 7-4. It's well found, but I'm happy to take a chance at the price. But if you don't like that price, I have one for the Betfair hurdle at a wild price, because there's a few I do like in here. I wouldn't put you off Telling the Name, wouldn't put you off Under Control, wouldn't put you off Outer Belly. So the reason I can't be going and putting a singular one up of them, if I was to probably preference one, I say Under Control, Back to Best was like so well fancy for the Jerry Fielden and just disappointed massively. I think she could still be well handicapped of 137. So she's the main one from the top of the market. But at 40-1, I'm willing to give a chance to Our Champ of Chris Gordon's. Now, this horse won at Cheltenham in the October meeting off a mark of 117. Freddie Gordon on board, claiming £3 that day. He's off a mark of 124 now, having ran 3 times since, and he dropped by the handicap of £4. Freddie Gordon's able to claim 5 on the weekend rather than his £3 back in October, which is handy because that was a conditionals race back in October, and this is a standard race. So he's only £7 higher, but then with that claim difference, only £5 higher, which is also good. Absolutely bolstered up that day at Cheltenham, genuinely bolstered up on the bridle by the end of things. He likes good ground, and I was interested to see when they did sort of the final confirmation of this race. Well, no, the early confirmations of this race. Orcan Risk wasn't confirmed for it. Obviously won the race last year, and I thought that was very interesting in the fact the horse had got back down to a winning mark and wasn't in the race. And I remember Chris Gordon talking about this horse after his win at Cheltenham, and he said this horse works all over Orcan Risk, and he did it while carrying Chris Gordon rather than one of the work riders, so basically carrying an extra 2 stone on the gallops. And look, he must be quite...
I hope Chris isn't watching this, by the way.
No, he really... I will dig out the quotes. I will back myself up here. But he may not have said working all over, but he said he was working better than Orcan Risk, and he was carrying Chris Gordon and not one of the work riders. And that to me says that this is a very good horse off 124 with Freddie Gordon's claim as well. And it's the one horse sort of Chris Gordon's going to be sending to the Betfair hurdle, So this has probably been the plan for a while. He's been freshened up since his last run on the 27th of December. He comes into this, 45 days off the track. He should be going well in this. He's the only runner in the Betfair hurdle for Chris Gordon. Likes to line one up, and I like Our Champ at 40-1 in that. But that's all we got time for on the main video. If you did enjoy, please do like and subscribe. Comment down below your Ante-post fancy for Cheltenham. Obviously, Dublin Racing Festival is gone, so there's plenty of clues coming out now. And comment your fancy for the weekend. We can't just get Cheltenham obsessed too much. There is racing in between. I'll be back at 10:30 a.m. I'm sure to do the Saturday Live this week and the Sunday show as usual, 7 to 8, usual programming. Lee, do we have a guest lined up for this weekend?
Emmett Kennedy is on Sunday. And we do have our Cheltenham preview announced as well. So that's the 5th of March, 7:30. Plenty of top guests lined up already, but we will reveal them next week, maybe.
So we've got a massive announcement coming soon as well. And that is something me and Ash, we kind of, Lee, before you left the for your few drinks on the DRF, me and Ash kind of hinted at the announcement, but we're not gonna say anything soon, are we? So it's certainly something to look forward to anyway.
Yeah, should be very good. So yeah, plenty of brilliant stuff coming up along the line. But yeah, best of luck this week and best of luck going forward. If you're having a bet, please do gamble responsibly. Go follow us all on Twitter, like, subscribe. Go check out the Spotify version of this. If I get this out in time, I'm going to have to force my future self to get this out on Spotify. Thank you very much. But until then, we'll see you very, very soon.